Welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. Luke Robinson riding solo for just a moment. But I do want to welcome in a very special guest. There are a lot of Alabama fans out there who write for various websites. I do it. There are other folks that do it. But there are very few who do it with as much passion as Jamey Barnes, our next guest. Jamey, how are you tonight?
I'm good, Luke. Thanks for having me on.
Jamey has been a student recently at the University of Alabama. Has got a lot of great connections, has a podcast called Talk of Champions I listen to quite frequently. He's got some great insight, and he's going to be starting a new website very soon. He's been with Bama Hammer, and he's going to move over to a new website called Rising Tide, or it may be something else. They're debating on the name. But I do have a beef with you, Jamey. I saw in your profile for Bama Hammer, you've never seen any Star Wars movie?
Not a second. Not one.
As a guy who saw it, I believe, 27 times in the theater, the original, when I was young, then I take great offense to that. But we'll move on. I talked to you off air just a second ago. You've been watching the program. You saw Robert Mosley talk a lot about this case with Cam Robinson and Hootie Jones. What are your thoughts?
You know, like I told you off the air, I was very, very surprised when he talked about the rental car, and then I was also surprised when he brought in, when it came out that there was two other people in the car with them that didn't get arrested. That was very surprising to me. But with everything that Mr. Mosley said, I think that what the outcome is what it should have been. Because if you take away the gun charges, obviously it's still very dumb on their part. But you take away the gun charge, and it's not really that serious of an offense. So I think he should be suspended a game or two, him and Hootie both. I think Hootie was very fortunate that he was with Cam.
True.
But yeah, I think that justice may have been served in a different way.
Let's talk about some of the play on the field or what is coming up. Alabama's already had one player leave in Sean Burgess, and now Maurice Smith, there's talk that he may leave, even though that's not set in stone yet. He may be transferring out to play for another program. How's that going to affect Alabama's depth next year?
Well, as far as Maurice Smith goes, I've heard that he really wants to be a true cornerback, and I don't see that happening at Alabama. As far as depth with Maurice Smith, he was a good nickel back for us. So I think that it's definitely going to hurt depth, but we're still awaiting the Tony Brown what that outcome's going to be. But you got young guys like Kendall Sheffield, and then the four we brought in this past signing day. That I don't think it hurts the depth that much, especially with Sean Burgess-Becker. Even in the spring game, he was a third string safety. I think we're going to be fine as far as depth is concerned.
The quarterback saga continues. It looks like for all the world, it'll be Cooper Bateman coming out of spring if that's all you go by. But then you hear so many positive things about Jalen Hurts. And now Blake Barnett, through social media no less, has really worked his way into the fans' hearts. So I think he is the fan favorite, no doubt. Who do you think ends up taking that first snap against USC?
Well, I still think it's a little bit too soon to tell, because this time last year, Jay Coker he didn't have the position locked up at this time last year, and he ended up carrying us to a national championship. If you do go by the spring, I agree with you. It's going to be Cooper Bateman. But Blake, you saw the videos of Blake working hard in the off season, going to out with George Whitfield out in California, and then the same thing with Jalen, also working very hard. I think if I were to say right now, it's going to be Cooper Bateman, but if not, then I'm going to say Blake Barnett. I think it's a little bit too soon for Jalen, even though I do love what he could bring to the table eventually.
Bill Battle, the athletic director at Alabama, is taking a leave of absence to take on the cancer he's suffering from right now. What does this mean? Was this a surprise to you?
It wasn't. I knew about the health issues, but it was a surprise to me that he is taking a leave of absence at this time, especially after we just hired a baseball coach. But it's surprising, and I don't know really what they're going to do, because when Mal was sick, that he had Bill step in for him. I haven't heard who they're going to have to step in for Bill. But yes, it definitely was a surprise when I saw that come across today.
Kavon Bennett, the son of Cornelius Bennett, an Alabama legend, commits to the University of Tennessee. Was this a shock to you? Do you feel like Alabama's made a mistake here? Or do you feel like this is just something that goes on with Nick Saban's Alabama, where if you're a three-star, no matter if you're a legacy or not, Nick Saban's probably going to go a step or two up?
Yeah, the thing with Nick Saban, you don't win as many games as he does, handing out favorites or giving favoritism to ex-players. But I think Bennett's a pretty good ball player. I don't think it's over yet for Alabama and him. I think later in the process that, you know, if we miss on a couple guys, that he could definitely come back into play. But, you know, I know we don't like to get into the recruiting rankings and stuff like that. He's not that highly touted of a recruit. I know that he's been here once, maybe twice, and the coaches did like what they saw when he worked out for them. But no, it wasn't a surprise for me. It was a surprise that he committed so early because he really did want that Alabama offer.
Austin Troxell from Madison Academy commits to Auburn over Alabama. What are your thoughts on him as a player?
Well, my thoughts on him as a player, he's really good. I thought Alabama had a really good shot at him, but when you have guys like Elliott Baker that just committed not last week, I think, and then you have some other guys that are on the list that we were really in for. I wasn't surprised he chose Auburn, but like I said, he is a really good player, and Auburn got a really good one with that one.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I've been able to follow his career for quite some time, seen him play in numerous state championship games. But, Jamey, why don't you tell everybody about your podcast, Talk of Champions?
Yeah, Talk of Champions, me and co-host Tyler Dalton, we've been doing it for a little over a year now. We took a hiatus the past couple of weeks. But, you know, Luke, we kind of modeled it after yours and Jimmy's podcast. Y'all kind of an inspiration to us to do it. And as far as the website goes, like y'all are an inspiration to us, Rodney Orr was the inspiration to me to do it when I worked for him. And we just want to, you know, we're going to have the podcast in with the website. And, you know, we just want to be a little bit different from everybody else because we're going to be young. And one thing I want to add to it is that, you know, not a lot of websites really cover baseball. We're going to have the president of the Right Field Rangers, Will Elliott. He is going to be our baseball guy. You know, I'm sure he'll dabble into some football and basketball here and there, but he'll help bring a good following with as being the president of the Right Field Rangers.
Oh, I think that's huge. And speaking of baseball, what do you think about the new hire?
You know, I like Golf as a coach. He did really well at La Tech when he didn't have a whole lot to work with. But I wish that we would have aimed a little bit higher. But in the end, I think we got a good coach. I really do. You
know, ironically, he may have had more to work with at La Tech than he will when he comes to Alabama this next year, it sounds like.
But the good thing about him is he's going to get to bring in his own guys.
True.
And that he's very comfortable with. So, and he has some young talent here. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do. I think they made the right move. I think it was time for a change. But I'm cautiously optimistic about it right now.
Well, Jamey, thanks so much for joining us, bud. We'll have you on again soon, and do enjoy your podcast, and thanks for the kind words about talking Tuscaloosa with Jimmy and me.
All right. Thank you, Luke.
All right, Jamey, have a good night. That was Jamey Barnes, does a fantastic job, really does have a great podcast. He'll get on there and do Periscope, and that's a lot of fun sometimes. National Signing Day, I followed him on that. This is a guy that really knows his stuff, and I think he's going to do some big things with his new website, whatever he names it. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sports Blitz.